Great. Well, welcome to day 3 of the Peralta Online Equity Conference. Here we are with Kaishan Kong, Yiliu Yang, and Munira Mukhitdinova. And so we are excited to have our colleagues from Wisconsin-Eau to talk about expanding equity in online learning through virtual cross-cultural exchange. Kaishan, Yiliu, Munira, take it away.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for waking up, getting up so early to join us. Me and my colleagues here, we want to say thank you to the Equity Conference, to them and Kevin for your hard work in putting together this conference. Today, we want to share with you some examples and our thoughts on expanding equity in online learning through virtual cross-cultural exchange. As I mentioned, I'm Kaishan Kong. I'm Associate Professor of Chinese at the University of Wisconsin-Eau.
I'm Yiliu Yang. I work at the Center for International Education at UW-Eau Claire.
And I'm Munira Mukhitdinova from Uzbekistan, and currently I'm a visiting scholar in Wisconsin-Eau University.
Right, we are so excited to join you all to discuss this very important topic. But for our workshop today, we want to share briefly with you our intention, why we are committed to providing equity in online learning and the significance of it. But then we want to spend more time sharing with you 3 examples, since we all came from different fields, different cultural background, and we want to share with you some of the things we do and welcome your ideas. We'll share and end the presentation with some brief takeaway messages, suggestions for our like-minded educators. By the end of the workshop, we hope you'll be able to identify key components of virtual exchange, analyze some real-world applications from our examples, and adapt and apply some of the pedagogical strategies to fit in your context. If you have any questions, please feel free to type in the chat, or if we are talking too fast or too unclear, feel free to stop us during our presentation. Okay, the first thing we want to warm up a little bit, we want to invite you and engage you to type in the chat, but listen closely. I know it's early in the morning, you may need your coffee to wake up. And we want you to think of 3 words to describe virtual exchange. It can be any words, but we want you to enter the words in the chat without hitting enter, because we want to have this waterfall of chat. So every time I have this workshop, I have educators too excited to wait. So we want you to type the 3 words, but we want you to wait until we set 3, 2, 1 countdown to enter. Okay, we give you about 20 seconds to type your 3 words in the Zoom chat. Don't hit enter. Let's see who's the best listener. Okay, I'm timing now, 20 seconds. Think about the 3 words, I'm sorry, 3 words. Okay, you have 5 seconds. I know we don't give you much more time, right? Any 3 words or 2 words that come to your mind. Okay, we're going to count down 3, 2, 1, and then hit enter. We're all going to see the waterfall of words. Wow. As you can see in my shared screen, non-threatening, I like that. Safe environment, culture exchange, I see the multiple times, empowering, exciting dialogue. Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much. Interpersonal, right? Relaxed, exciting. Those words perfectly describe how we feel about virtual exchange. But we want to begin by sharing with you why we think it's important to provide equity, and what does equity in learning opportunities mean, and what can technology do to help us?
Why we're doing this, because it's obvious the equity in learning opportunity that we see the education opportunity gap is huge across countries and cultures. For example, financially, some education system can have the spending of like 2% of the national GPD, while in other system, they only have like 1% of their national GPD. So financially, the gap is huge. Then we can imagine like what's the huge difference between the 2 education systems. And another thing we can see is faculty-students ratio in higher education. The ratio can be 1 to 25 or 1 to 80. And some systems provide free tutors for their students, and some system has none, such kind of services. So that's why we're here. We want to talk about how to expand the equity in learning opportunities. And we think virtual learning can help to bridge the gap and expand the equity in learning opportunities. Equity means to provide resources and support to meet the diverse learning needs of our students. For students with less English proficiency, we can provide materials in multiple languages and offer extra support for academic language development. For students with learning differences, we could provide extra time for assignments or using alternative assessment methods. Equity also means to provide access to technology, digital literacy, digital environment, etc. For example, we provided virtual meeting link that is available in both countries when we do online activities. We work with partner university to clarify devices, requirements, instructions for any activities beforehand. We send knowledge-based handouts in advance to the activity to prepare the background information for the students. And we also make sure course material accessible by adding alternative format. For example, the text-to-speak format or the caption function. And we also are aware that to expand the equity is not only to provide resources or access, but also to help the students using those technology and resources to learn better.
So, if we talk about the technology increasing equity in learning, before diving into how technology contributes, let's clarify what we mean by equity and equality. Equity is not the same as equality, while equality means giving everyone the same tools. Equity means giving each learner what they need to succeed, recognizing their different starting points, backgrounds, and challenges. Equity in learning encompasses access to resources, support tailored to individual needs, linguistic and cultural inclusiveness, and the ability to fully engage it in the learning process, regardless of gender, ability, socioeconomic status, or geographic location. Firstly, if we talk about, I want to mention about the access to education. We know that one of the most visible contribution of technology is the expansion of access. Online learning platforms like massive open online courses and mobile learning apps now reach learners in rural areas, developing countries, refugee camps, and in undeserved communities. For instance, the Han Academy or Coursera and the top universities provide high-quality courses for free or at very low cost. UNESCO data from 2022 showed that more than 20% of low-income learners access learning opportunities through mobile-first solution during school closures. Moreover, asynchronous learning formats empower learners with disabilities or those working part-time to study at their own pace. This flexibility directly supports equity. And the second one, another major contribution of technology, is inclusion. Learners with physical, sensory, or cognitive disabilities benefit from tools such as screen readers, closed captioning, voice-to-text software, and customized interfaces. According to the World Bank, inclusive technologies have increased the participation of students with disabilities in higher education by more than 60% in digital supported environments. In multicultural and multilingual classrooms, real-time translation tools, subtitling, and language learning applications support non-native speakers and immigrant students, ensuring their active engagement. And the next one is the personalization and adaptive learning. Technology also enhances personalized learning, which is essential for equity. Artificial intelligence-powered platforms such as Newton or Duolingo adjust to content and pace of instruction infrastructure based on student performance. If we clarify personalization, it means that the minimize burden of advanced learners and it reduces frustration inspiration for struggling learners, and enables instructors to identify and respond to diverse needs more efficiently. This individualized approach, supported by real-time data, helps close achievement gaps. And next one is in today's diverse classrooms, not all the students speak the same first language. We know that this can make it hard to follow lessons or express ideas clearly. But now, thanks to technology, students can learn in a more comfortable way. For example, platforms like Microsoft Immersive Reader, bilingual learning website, and videos with multilingual subtitles help students understand the material better. This support helps them feel more confident, take part in class discussions, and improve their second language at the same time. In short, technology makes learning more equal and inclusive for everyone. And the next one is the teacher training and collaboration. Another way technology increases equity is by the supporting teachers. In the past, many teachers in rural or remote areas had fewer opportunities for professional development. They often couldn't attend training or seminars held in big cities. But now things have changed. Thanks to webinars, online courses, and global teaching communities, educators from anywhere can improve their skills. A teacher in a small village and teacher in a large city can now learn the same modern methods, share ideas, and grow together. This equal access helps not only teachers but also their students, because when teachers learn, students benefit. In this way, technology becomes a bridge for sharing knowledge and improving education everywhere. And the last one is technology facilitates intercultural communication and breaks the stereotype and builds global competencies, which are especially important in developing inclusive mindsets. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. So related to how technology can support intercultural learning, although we three came from very different professional background and cultural background, Munira is a professor in ESL and AI technology. Yiliu is an international student service manager, and I'm an interculturalist and language professor. Although despite all these differences, our shared goal is to provide this equity in learning and nurture students' intercultural competence. By doing so, we are constantly guided by Michael Byram's model of intercultural communicative competence, or ICC. So no matter what we do, we want to create this equity in learning, and students, by connecting with people outside their little bubble, we want students to develop the knowledge and skills in intercultural competence and dig deeper and profound understanding of their own attitudes and create curiosity towards other people that leads to the final critical cultural awareness. So how do we integrate this in virtual exchange? Firstly, we need to identify some key components of virtual exchange. And here, this list on the right side of the screen shows to you what we think are important factors that play a part in successful virtual exchange. Intercultural learning objectives that guide the entire process, identify a reliable global partner, and technology infrastructure. How can we find one technological tool that's equally accessible by people all around the world or involved in a project? In the task design and structure, how do we integrate these different components of ICC into your task design? And during the process, instructor support to each other is fundamental because that involves a lot of logistics and also pedagogical changes. Instructors need to provide support to each other and provide support to our students. Also, let's not forget to give students profound and enough time to reflect and debrief what they have done. And finally, tie that project back into your teaching and give students evaluation and diverse assessment ideas. So we have shared our thoughts, why and what. Next, we want to share with you 3 examples coming from 3 different subjects and areas. Firstly, Yiliu will share with you her example in student services.
Yes, my example is an online learning for international students during COVID. I believe the best way to learn a new language is to practice with the native speakers. However, our international students may not have these resources in their home country. So in order to provide these resources, we just created an online English conversation to bring our domestic student interns, the current international students, and some other native speakers, together with the international students during COVID, when travel is not possible at that time. So our objective is to make international buddies through the online community, and also help the students to have the sense of belonging by knowing the local culture. And we do have students, they can easily participated in a students club while after their arrival. And how did we do it? We just put the students practice in pairs, ensure the plenty of time and social space for conversation, just as one of the word I caught in the waterfalls, it says non-threatening. This is very important for them to start the conversation telling their stories. And we support target language and knowledge. On the meeting, we use the alternative format, for example, text-to-speech, caption, etc., to help the students to better understand the language. And we also provide pre-meeting materials for discussion. For example, one of our domestic students shared her golf club experiences in high school in the United States, which is very common here in Wisconsin, United States, but it's very rare in China. So our international students has great curiosity out of this topic. And before that, to help them understand what does it look like for the golf club in high school, we send pictures, we send explanations and information to help the students to understand. Vice versa, we have Chinese international students who grow up in Qingdao, China. Like she spent all her high school in sailing, which is real in Wisconsin, United States, because we don't have this natural resources for high schooler here. And those experiences in knowing the things in the other culture is very beneficial for our students to start the exchange and keep the exchange. Other examples can be Turkey for Thanksgiving. One of our international students shared that the first food he want to try when he arrived in the United States is to get turkey. And this also, the curiosity brings the activities together between our international students and host friend. And we can see the picture shows they have a gathering on the one of the most important festival, Thanksgiving in the United States, with the local family here. And we also have another example of international students who got to know the esports club from the conversation. And after he arrived, he joined the club. He compete with the teammates from all over the world. And through that experiences, he made international friendship and knowing much about how to be a global gamer and global citizen. Jack-o'-lantern is another thing our international students are very interested as well. And it's good that they can experience this in Halloween and get together with their friends and getting to know the community as well.
Okay, great. Next, I would like to share 2 examples I've done in my own classroom on different projects, different subjects that engage students to do virtual exchange with their international partners. The first one I would like to share with you was my collaboration with a university in Malaysia and connecting our students together to discuss UN United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. As we mentioned earlier in the ICC format, we wanted students to develop skills and knowledge about intercultural communication, but our end goal is for students to discover profound knowledge and critical cultural awareness. And I think the UN SDGs would be a natural platform for students from different disciplinary backgrounds to get together and talk about what they can do to promote social equity or sustainability in different aspects of the society. So this, as I mentioned, this project was between us, Eau Claire, and Taylor's University, one of the top private universities in Malaysia and Southeast Asia. And I call this virtual exchange a Gold Book project. Gold stands for Gold Global Outreach and Learning Diversity. I think I created this fancy name for that. I almost forget this name. So for this project, students communicated with each other for 10 weeks involving 30 participants. And there were 4 components for this virtual exchange. In class, I have to mention, besides connecting students virtually with Malaysia, I also invited visiting scholars from China and Uzbekistan and our international students on campus. The reason is that research shows us we always want to go outside. Sometimes we overlook the valuable resources we have within our community. So I do want to provide students such opportunities to go outside and look inside. So in addition to virtual exchange, students also collaborated with our visiting scholars and students on campus. And we also invited guest speakers from Malaysia and Germany to Zoom in to chat with us. Every week, students with Malaysian partners will finish a weekly discussion annotations on each other's annotation using hypothesis. Some of you may be aware of this tool. I found it very useful. Students from different backgrounds, they can choose a cartoon picture, for instance, about no poverty, to talk about what no poverty manifests and means in the culture and annotates on each other. And also another project will be students working with each other to create a digital story. They need to choose an SDG and hear each other's story. Through the weekly discussion, they create their own story to bring the public awareness up to pay more attention to this specific SDG. The final collaboration was a collaborative project that involves China, US, Uzbekistan, Malaysia, India, all different cultural backgrounds students came from and brought together. They need to choose SDG and do some research to find out how different cultures and societies approach this SDG in the context. By comparison, they need to create an infographic and also a social innovation plan to present in class. This was like the final capstone for this project, and students really enjoy that. Here are some pictures for you to see. These pictures came from in-class discussion between students and our international students and scholars. These pictures here show you the weekly discussion and annotation on each other's comments using hypothesis. And it was very important for us to find some really creative ways, not necessarily academic papers all the time. These undergrad students, sometimes their attention span is limited. We can really have them read 30 pages every week. So my partner, my global partner, and I intentionally found some fun cartoon, blog, or short video or TikTok or TED Talk for students to comment on. And this picture shows you 3 examples of the infographic students work together. This one was Tanzania and USA talking about SDG 1, no poverty. This one, India, Kazakhstan, and US talking about quality education, SDG 4. And this one was US and Malaysia talking about SDG 14. And this project really effectively brought students disciplinary background and the personal interest to give them a lot of space and freedom to do what they are passionate about. And if you remember, the project was titled Gold Book. So we did deliver a book. At the end, I was fortunate and honored to receive a national grant to publish students' projects into a book. We just had a book launch event 2 weeks ago when students got together again and held the book with their projects with international partners and reflected on the course experience and intercultural experience with their partners. So I think going a full circle, it really brought students back to reflection, talking about what they have learned. And to me, it was truly what impactful learning means. And students carry on with this book to do greater good for the society. So switch gear, in addition to the SDG, this semester, I also do a virtual exchange and interpersonal exchange on another subject called second language acquisition. So this semester, I'm teaching this course, second language acquisition. Most of the students who take this course are students who want to teach English abroad or who they are bilingual learners, multilingual speakers. They want to learn about how languages are learned and should be taught. So same thing. I combine interpersonal exchange between students and our visiting scholars and international students on campus. On top of that, students were connected with a top university in Hong Kong. And students in Hong Kong, they are learning about intercultural communication. They were looking for international partners to learn about their life experience. Similar to my students, in order to be an effective and successful language teacher, they should definitely integrate culture. They need to know more about the culture beyond their little bubble. So, so students work with their partner. For the collaboration with Hong Kong, they have to create a research topic about language learning and culture, the importance of cultural diversity, and interview each other. And today I'm very happy because one of our visiting scholar from Uzbekistan, Munira, she's also one of the participants in this SDG course. So I would love to have her share from her perspective, from me as an instructor. I thought everything was so great. I'm so touched by the communication, but I want to hear what she truly thinks. I hope she finds this experience positive, but it's all yours.
Thank you, Professor. And now I'd like to share how my recent experience in the US inspired me to implement a virtual cross-cultural exchange model in Uzbekistan to expand equity in online learning. Firstly, also, I want to add that in our increasingly globalized world, connecting with the peers from different cultures online not only helps us learning new perspectives, but also open access to high-quality education, no matter where we live. These exchanges are especially powerful in language learning, professional growth, and digital readiness, and making education more inclusive and impactful. While observing and while participating the Professor Kaishan Kong's second language acquisition classes, it was so wonderful. She was so professional. Yeah, I saw how Chinese students were paired with American students, peers, to practice English in real-time discussions. This method improved language fluency and intercultural communication on both sides. It was truly impressive. I also learned about project-based learning, which encourages critical thinking and collaboration. One method that stood out was the SQ3R reading strategy: survey, question, read, recite, and review, which I plan to implement in my class back home. And also what inspired me most was how virtual exchange removes barriers. Students from different countries and backgrounds could connect without needing to travel. It made me think deeply about education equity in Uzbekistan, especially for students in rural or underfunded schools. As a scholar, I also joined online seminars, which gave me access to new professional development opportunities. This made me realize how much teachers in Uzbekistan could benefit from similar virtual collaborations with international educators. Another key point I observed was cross-disciplinary learning. For example, US students collaborate with the peers from Central Asia on joint research projects, something I plan to annotate with my students soon. This exchanges required strong digital literacy. Students used platforms like Padlet, Zoom, and Google Docs. I now see how important it is to build these tech skills in my own students also. Most importantly, I noticed a rise in motivation. Students felt more ambitious and confident after connecting with global peers. I gave them a broader perspective and encouraged them to dream bigger. I also observed efforts to support inclusion. For instance, captioned webinars helped hearing impaired students particularly fully. I gave This reminded me how virtual learning can be made accessible to all learners. And finally, these virtual programs help develop real-world readiness, and the ESL teachers and future educators and practice to coaching, teaching online. And this and global classrooms also, it helps to connect with each other and it helps to improve their knowledge also. I think it's so interesting and it was so helpful for me. Thank you, Professor, for the interesting and helpful classes. Thank you for that.
Thank you for sharing. I swear I didn't pay her to say positive things about the conference. But really, I would suggest to everyone, if you have international scholars and students on campus, they are such valuable resources for our students to learn from, bring them to the classroom. But I also think it's important that we do not make them feel tokenized. I do not want Spotlighting. Okay. So I do not want our international students or scholars to feel they are tokenized. They're here to serve others because we can learn so much from them. We also can contribute our knowledge with our international students and scholars. So we hope now we've talked a lot. We can continue to talk about our projects because we're passionate about, but we'll also want to pause a little bit and have you share. Do you find any of this even small detail you think can be adopted to use right away? Or you think some of the ideas could be adapted that you can fit in your context? Or if you think some of the ideas do not apply to your context, which is fine. We welcome you to share your thoughts in the chat since we have a few minutes. So, or unmute yourself to share or raise hand, whatever way you want. And I'm just going to take this chance to quickly look at the chat. Okay, the chat, we are still great to see the publication. Anyone help me the last letter, please? Okay. Oh, I see a question talking about the global outreach learning and the last letter, that D stands for diversity. But I have to say that this one I created myself. So it's not like a theory. You will not be able to find it. Maybe I can create it into a theory someday in the future. But you can create any fancy name you want. I just think this global outreach and learning diversity, they create a golden opportunity to learn. That's why I created this cheesy but fancy name. So we welcome you to share with us any other thoughts. Thanks. Okay. No worries, you can take time to think. Before we end this presentation, we just want to share a little bit of our own lessons that we learned from this virtual exchange project. And for like-minded educators, maybe you want to pay attention or maybe you are experienced in that aspect.
So we want to consider sustainability, not only this presentation, but after this presentation, we want to keep it sustainable. So when we're talking about expanding the equity in learning opportunities, our goal is not only for this conversation or this class or this project. We just want to adopt various modes of virtual exchange, and for our through our innovation design, we want a virtual profound discussion and curiosity.
Oh, yes, I totally agree with Yiliu. I think there are so many things we can do to allow students to unleash their creativity. But let's not forget our deep goal, as our fundamental goal is for students to create this profound critical thinking and discussion. I also, from my own perspective, I find it super important to identify a reliable global partner. I think COIL, virtual exchange, everyone gets so excited by that. But really, the implementation takes a lot of time, a lot of planning. My partner and I work with Taylor's University because I did my Fulbright scholarship over there 3 years ago. I actually met the partner, and we have been doing smaller projects to build a rapport and trust with each other. I will not trade the world for this partner. It involves a lot of communication and say, hey, your student hasn't posted yet, or I noticed the discussion between my students and your students, they have this communication breakdown. So one time my students and their Malaysian students, they were not communicating quite well. They were not quite clear with one of the terms that caused misunderstanding, and then the following response totally went a different direction. So in this way, the facilitator support and facilitation will be very important. Last but not least, I just tell everyone, prepare to spend a lot of money. What am I talking about, right? I'm an educator, of course, I think about money. So be prepared to invest a lot of time. You're going to spend a lot of time with your partner, especially the beginning level, to ensure the process goes smoothly. But after once or twice, you'll find the process much more structured and smooth. So this will be our takeaway lessons. And we welcome your feedback. We welcome your questions. I'm sure many of you are also very experienced in equity learning and virtual exchange. So please do share your best practices with us too. So thank you so much for this opportunity. And we are very honored to be here with you today. Oh, yes. You can contact me just now in the chat. Someone asked if you could get the publication of the book. I do have the digital copy of the book. If you want a book, please do email me. My email here. I'm happy to share my students' work with you. And we just took this picture before the presentation to show you how excited we are for this workshop, and hopefully you have a great rest of the conference. Thank you. Okay, let me see the chat.
One question I have is, do you have recommendations for educators who might be thinking about a partnership but don't know where to start, how to find a partner, how to establish that first connection? So you all have been fortunate to do that in different ways, and so maybe you can share some of those ideas with the people here.
Great question, and such a practical question, right? If we do not have a partner, what do we do? My personal experience, and my colleagues can chime in later. I find that if you have not established global partnership yet, start looking inside, like looking at the international scholars you have, or immigrant or international faculty you have on your campus, and see if they can help you find out this personal contact. I find the personal contact normally gets a higher chance of success rate than just throwing out a question to your social media. The second thing I use is the World Council for Intercultural Competence, and the DAM is part of it and plays an important role. When I was teaching that virtual exchange on SDG, I wanted to look for guest speakers on SDG in other countries. And I simply threw out that post on the World Council network, and a professor from Germany responded and say, I've done a lot of SDG with collaborative projects with my students. I'm happy to be your guest speaker on Zoom. And then we were so happy to invite as guest speaker. 2 weeks ago, when we had the book launch event, when students reflected on their highlights or fond memories, one student talked about that guest speaker and say it was a fresh air to hear a professor from Germany, what they do. So I think that can be another good way. And from your own collaboration, academic publications or conferences, to look for like-minded people. If your university has funding, you may join COIL. And I know it costs money to join COIL to get community of practice. And our university doesn't have that resource, then I have to depend on my personal contacts. So any other suggestions?
I could add, you can talk to your international office, see what's your current international partners on your campus. I think that would be beneficial for not only you, but also beneficial for your campus as well.
That's a very, very good idea. Munira, do you have anything to add to that? Okay, you agree with us.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yes, thank you for your question. I'm just looking at the chat and see if there are any questions on the chat. Oh, the DAM you're already promoting. Wonderful. That is a great network. Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope that our conversation is helpful, but please bring in more questions and comments. Don't be shy. Again, if you want the book, please email me. I'm happy to share a digital copy with you. Since we got a grant, we want to share students' work.
Would you like to post your email in the chat for people who do want to contact you, since we don't see the opening slide that showed your contact information?
Oh, do you see this slide that has our...
No, you stopped sharing a little while ago. That's why we moved to the spotlight.
We stopped sharing a while ago? Oh my God, what happened?
I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe 5-7 minutes ago. But please.
Can you
There
see
we
okay
go.
now?
Now we can see it.
Okay, but
Oh,
we
it
can
looks like
certainly type
others.
our... Okay. Okay, so I'm happy
that's
to
perfect.
share my email. Yes.
And there's the picture you were talking about. Nice.
Yeah, we were waiting. We say we want people to feel our energy and passion. Let's take a picture. Yes. Oh, thank you. We hope that's helpful. Yeah, thank you for the heart. We all need that early in the morning. We all need this encouragement.
And I guess one other place people can look for partners is this conference. When you say like-minded people from around the world, we have, I think, 12 countries represented here. So maybe, and quite a few educators who are interested in global connections.
It's so impressive that under this current climate, you are still so committed to provide this conference on equity. That's kudos to you all and really wonderful. Thank you. I'm sure it's a lot of work putting together this. Okay.
It is, but as Videm has said, it's important work, and it's something that we will continue to do as long as we can.
It's our first time attending. We hope that we'll continue to attend in the future.
Yes, and if you wish, there are 4 years of recorded sessions from the previous years, so you may find not only potential partners in this live setting, but also in the recordings and the contact information. Maybe there's people who have done similar work that you want to connect with.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, any other questions, or you're getting ready for the next presentation? We'll see.
We still have about 15 minutes before we need to do that. So, how about this? I'll stop the recording, and then we can just have an informal space where people can chat, and they might have questions, they might not, but that way you don't have that expectation of being ready. So I want to then officially thank Kaishan, Yiliu, and Munira for this wonderful workshop. I think it's been useful for people to think about these topics, as you say, whether it be early in the morning or late in the afternoon out in Europe. And Uzbekistan, I don't know, is that maybe 10 hours from here?
Yes, at night. Yes.
Okay.
So many thanks, and we look forward to seeing you in other sessions.
Thank you.